Hello everyone. I'm here to introduce to you my prototype for my thesis project, which is to create or to build lesson plans around customized simulators for visual learners for online learning. And I've chosen a virtual digital camera, but this concept could be applied to any other form of visual medium, such as graphic design or just art, basically, or studio art or motion graphics, because there are a lot of the times that we actually can learn much better and quicker by not only having access to the information, the actual textual information and the theory behind the concepts, but also to be able to physically or virtually manipulating the tools in order to get a better understanding of how those tools work. So this is going to be the first part of either 2 or 3 quick video series. And the first part is for me introducing to you my prototype. In the second part, I'll talk about the competitors. And in the third part, I'll talk about the actual online photography websites that can be accessed to find technical information. So the conclusion based on the 3 videos that I'll be showing you is that what I'm proposing is far more powerful and far more effective, because I'm actually bringing these different tools together and putting them all in one platform geared to facilitate the e-learning experience for visual learners. So as part 1 is I'll be introducing my component, my visual component, which is in a form of a digital camera. And the reason I want to make the actual, I'm going to use the concept of metaphors here, because I think it's important to actually use visuals that do resemble the real tool, so the student doesn't get confused once they have to switch back to the real digital cameras. And so the settings more or less should be similar. I mean, obviously there has to be some modifications in some of the tools, which I'll talk about, but as a whole, the interface is very, very similar as what a real digital camera would look like, and that is very important for a more intuitive and also for a more seamless understanding between the virtual world and the real world when the student switches back to the camera to complete their assignments. So my virtual camera would consist of 6 parts, and I have 5 parts here. The last part is a color corrector tool, which is on another slide. So the first part, basically these parts are the main core concepts in beginning photography. So, and each part is broken down to specific components that I'll be building in Flash. So the first part would be the aperture setting. The aperture setting, again, I will do a comparison based on what I'm proposing and what are the available tools are in the next video. But what I'm proposing that is not what is being done in this common simulators out, is that based on this interface, the user or the learner, once they click on the specific aperture setting that they like to use, automatically they will get a visualization and an update on the actual opening of that aperture, and automatically they're going to depict the resulting photograph. So for example, they change something to f8, they automatically see this opening open to whatever the size of an f8 aperture is, and automatically they would see the resulting image. And this is very, very significant, because once This visualization exercise or simulator is not a standalone tool. It is part of an entire lesson plan that would include uh, notes, step-by-step directions, tutorials, video tutorials, and specific exercises related to how to manipulate aperture setting and getting specific results. So the tool actually is used on this particular lesson only to help the student develop a solid and fundamental understanding of the relationship of this aperture opening with the light, which can produce pictures like this. And and this simulator would be completely interactive. So as the student changes something, they would automatically see the result, and it's not like they have to click something. They would go to a brand new window and not having any type of visualization of the actual tool that they change. So I think that is very, very important, because in this manner the student is able to connect the dots together. So basically it helps the student understand a more fundamental understanding of the theory behind an aperture setting, and also the techniques. So by being able to see the techniques and the theory behind it, they can connect the bridge and automatically and instantly understand the connection of the light with the size, with an actual the opening of the aperture. And that's what makes my proposal much more powerful and comprehensive. So again, the same exact thing with my exposure settings. My exposure settings, the students will manually manipulate the settings and automatically would see the result on the image. So by this direct manipulation and seeing the image right away, it can really help them gain a more fundamental understanding of the photography techniques and theory, and the lighting and so forth. So the next part would be the shutter speed, and the shutter speed, again, I've made the dial so it resembles the dials on the actual DSLR camera, and to minimize the confusion. And once the student changes the setting, they can automatically see the animated shutter based on the slow shutter or fast shutter or regular speed shutter. So as they make a selection, they see the animation, which I will be creating in Flash, and they would see the resulting image instantly on the photograph. And as I mentioned before, this is just one part of my lesson plan. The other part is actually providing other tools, step-by-step directions, step-by-step graphs or tutorials. And so if, some people prefer to see something and then read about it for better understanding. So my lesson plan basically provides multiple tools for learning, so the student can decide which method is going to best suits their process. And I think that is really, really important. So the next part would be the film speed setting. And again, the film speed setting, it's very similar again. I mean, it's not round. I mean, it could be, but it's very clearly laid out in terms of what the film sensitivity is and the numbers, which is exactly very similar to the traditional cameras. And again, once the student changes the film speed, they automatically would get an updated result on the photograph to see that, and automatically connect the connection between higher number of film speed with the amount of grain that it produces on the photograph. And so by automatically seeing the results, um, and by manipulating the settings and automatically seeing the result, it actually, these tools are not just a fun tool to play around with. They actually have a much more powerful role in the educational process, because it allowed the students to physically, by manipulating whatever setting they're on, to see the result, and being able to fully understand the theory of light as it relates to this film sensitivity.